Hi there, I'm Kelly Goff. I'm a columnist with the Daily Beast, and I'm here on day 3 of the Women in the World Summit 2014. We are back in the Toyota Solutions studio, and I am joined by 2 more of our fabulous panelists from the summit, Clare Byarugaba. Did I get it right, Clare?
Yes, you did.
Okay, yay. And Tugbiyela. And both of them are activists on LGBT rights, but that may not sound as controversial or risk-taking if you were doing it here in the U.S., perhaps, but you're not doing it here in the U.S. Both of you, your work really focuses on Africa. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you do and the communities that you're from and some of the struggles that you've both faced and what inspires your work? That was a lot. I asked a lot in one big question.
Should I go first?
So you go for it, Adi.
Okay. I first thank you so much for allowing me to speak on this issue. This platform is so important for people to really hear the stories that folks are dealing with and living on a day-to-day basis. I'm a filmmaker, and I work with an organization called the Solidarity Alliance for Human Rights, and we're based in Nigeria. We are looking for ways to really help vulnerable, marginalized people. More specifically, at this very moment, we're focused on a project called the Girishi 14. There was a New York Times article about it in February. Just a group of gay men who were sleeping and in the middle of the night were mobbed by attacks and have been rendered homeless after being jailed for it. So I want to engage people in this and really let them know how they can help.
And talk about your film, because I know that there are different forms of activism. There are people who take the streets, and there are people who use art. And you use art to really fuel your activism. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I find it hard to make art for art's sake. You know, feels very rewarding for me to use my film to support a cause that speaks to me personally, but also to me culturally and to my people. So the film's called Afro Odyssey 4, 100 years later. It's actually a film I completed before the signing, 1 week before Jonathan Goodluck signed the anti-gay bill in Nigeria. But it does speak to sexuality and spirituality and how queer people in Nigeria really try to balance the two while living in a very homophobic and religious conservative society. So I'm using this as a way of education, advocacy, and really spreading light on this issue, but also as a fundraising tool to help the Girishi men, because the next film, Afro Odyssey 5, will focus on documenting and archiving their lives so that we can continue this work.
So Clare, I know that you do a lot of your work in Uganda, and we know that we've been following the crisis over there in terms of how gays and lesbians are treated. The first question I actually want to ask you is, it really feels like in other parts of the world, whether you're talking about the United Kingdom or you're talking about here in the U.S., things are really moving forward for LGBT communities. Are things moving backwards in Africa, or is this something that we're just all learning about? Because it seems like it's moving backwards there.
Yeah, unfortunately it is, because ideally we should be progressing, because as countries which sign on to, like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we should be on the same pace with the rest of the world in terms of how we treat, human beings in our countries. But politicians, religious leaders, are taking us back with very repressive laws that don't belong in this era. So it is quite a difficult time, because you have countries that are moving so, like the US right now is struggling for equality. Right now we're just basically struggling for recognition and human rights, and that shouldn't be happening right now.
Well, let me ask you this, is something specific happening there that's making the government be more aggressive about laws? Or have things always just been this way and we're just all paying more attention to it in the rest of the world? Or are they actively trying to make things tougher for gays and lesbians right now? And if so, why? What is going on in Uganda that has made the government get more aggressive?
Yeah, I think as African countries, they're trying to, they have probably recognized their sense of sovereignty, or they have picked this issue to speak, to be different from the rest of the world.
Got you.
And unfortunately, that means, very big problems for the communities. They don't care about the communities. They care about sovereignty. They care about how this, makes their political regimes progress, because we've noticed that most countries are denying gay people their rights, because they fear that if gay people have their rights, then that means the rest of the other marginalized groups start to start to demand for their rights.
So in part, what you're saying, just I would want to clarify for our audience, is that you think that some of this may be a reaction to the advancements and progress that gay people are making in the United States and in other countries, that there's a reaction to say we're not going to have that here?
Yeah, something like that, but it's more specific to, I guess, how the scapegoating LGBT people, or how religion will make them feel. I think it's very much a sovereignty issue.
Gotcha.
Wanting, because perhaps they've lost, in so many other international, areas. They want to focus on this to be different from the rest of the world, unfortunately.
So, please tell our audience how people can help if they care about this issue and they care about the struggle of LGBT people in other countries, particularly your own. What can people do to help?
Well, the Girishi 14, the gay men I mentioned earlier, are currently homeless. They need shelter, they need food, they need clothing, they need transportation money, anything you can think of, simply because of, again, their sexuality, being mobbed for that. So we're encouraging people to go to Afro Odyssey 4, the number 4, AfroOdyssey4.com, and find out how you can get involved to help these guys out.
Yeah. Back in Uganda, I think the biggest issue right now, we do need a lot of solidarity. We do need, governments not to withdraw, keep on speaking out against what is happening back in Uganda, back in Africa. Because if Africa feels like the international community is not paying attention, then that means there are repercussions for that. It will get worse if the world is not watching. So we do need the international community to keep hounding Uganda, keep hounding Nigeria to commit to human rights and the commitments they've made, for example, in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And of course, we do need technical support, we do need financial support. The Civil Society Coalition on Human Rights and Constitutional Law, which I co-coordinate, has taken a case against the law in court, so we do need support for that. There's a lot of need for emergency and relocation. People have gone through so much since the bill was passed into law, but mostly we do need solidarity.
And can you say the name of the website for the organization you work with?
It's www.ugandans4rights, for the number 4rights.org. www.ugandans4rights.org.
Okay, Claire and Adi, you're doing such incredible work, and thank you so much for being at the summit. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here in the Toyota Solutions studio. I'm Kelly Goff, and I've been joined by Adi and Claire, who are both activists working on LGBT rights in Africa. Thanks so much.
Thank you.